Hello and welcome to Fight News Now Extra. My name is John Pollock and we'll be joined momentarily by Robin Black as we break down Wednesday's UFC Fight Night card from San Diego. The card featured the second UFC appearance for the highly touted Holm, a fun lightweight fight between Tony Ferguson and Josh Thompson, and a violent heavyweight main event. Frank Mir and Todd Duffee headlined Wednesday night's UFC Fight Night card from San Diego and made it as exciting a 1 minute and 13-second fight as you could possibly have. The two exchanged big strikes, with Mir clearly landing the stronger punches and knees, but Duffee moved forward, absorbing shot after shot. Mir's chin held up as well, and then cracked Duffee with a left to the chin that put Duffee away, and Frank Mir secured his second consecutive victory with the knockout win. Tony Ferguson and Josh Thompson had an incredible fight, which was nearly stopped in the second round when Ferguson connected with an elbow that sliced the side of Thompson's head and opened him up. Thompson looked like he was out on his feet as Ferguson then attempted submission after submission before the round expired. Thompson would hang on for the duration of the fight, with Ferguson picking up the unanimous decision victory and his sixth straight victory. And Holm stepped into the octagon for the second time and met Marion Renault. Holm controlled this fight from minute 1 through 15 on the feet, pushing forward and attacking all areas of Renault, who had no way of stopping the offense of Holm. It was a safe unanimous decision victory for Holm, although one judge did score the fight 29-28, which was puzzling to say the least. This coming Saturday morning, rise and shine with the Fight Network at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Myself and Robin Black will get you set for Saturday's card from Scotland, headlined by Michael Bisping and Thales Leites, and we'll present the undercard at 11 a.m. Eastern Time with 4 fights coming your way, including Vaughn Lee and Paddy Houlihan headlining the prelims from Glasgow. Well, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest heavyweight striker of them all? Surprisingly, it was Frank Mir on Wednesday night.
Hey, that wasn't a surprise. We called that Frank Mir was going to do it. Why? Because he's super experienced, he's super smart, and the best thing Frank Mir needed to do was take a little time off, heal his body so he could move and flow and get back to being a skill-based guy. And man, his boxing looked very sharp. His combat psychology profile was right on the money, where he had to wade in. The easiest thing in the world to do with a guy who's super aggressive is get inside and counter him. And the hardest thing in the world to do with a guy who's super aggressive is get inside and counter him. You got to be mentally ready for it. Frank Mir had it all happening.
Yeah, and in all honesty, it wasn't that surprising. His striking has quietly evolved significantly, and last week, our own John Ramdeen caught up with Frank Mir ahead of the fight with Todd Duffee to talk about that very evolution.
Boxing has a lot to offer, and I've really cleared my mind and trained with great boxing coaches, and now go in the gym and box with boxing. And I think that's something that a lot of guys in our sport don't do, is they don't really empty their cup. They walk into a gym to learn boxing, but they want to do MMA boxing. It's like, why don't you learn boxing, and then you can make that adjustment for when you spar MMA. But if you really want to learn from somebody, why don't you learn it the right way and then make that adjustment instead of trying to take these shortcuts, and then you're learning a watered down version of boxing that's not boxing, it's not MMA.
So there was Frank Mir discussing his boxing, his technique, and who he has been working with. And we saw it was a very short fight on Wednesday night, but you still saw a lot of movement from Frank Mir, and certainly he did absorb some strikes. He did admit he got a little reckless, a little emotional in there. But that was a tremendous performance, and all of a sudden, back-to-back wins, the first time since 2011, Frank Mir can say that. And here was a guy that was being written off after that 4-fight losing streak, but you look at the quality of guys he was not only fighting, but preparing for. This is still a guy that can compete in that heavyweight division.
For sure, man. And heavyweight's a spooky place to be. It's a spooky place to hang out, put your flag, and go to war, because every single guy has knockout power. People are like, oh, Frank Mir's chin, Todd Duffee's chin. These guys are 250 pounds with clean, powerful technique, big, powerful bodies. Everybody can get knocked out. So what do? You got to go in there prepared to do battle. Frank made some huge improvements just in the overall picture. Always been a skilled guy, but he went in there confident. You got to be confident. You can't half-ass these techniques. You can't fade out and start swinging. Duffee got overly aggressive. Frank stood his ground and drilled that left hand in there. You really see in Frank Mir come into and look the way an older fighter should look. And it's rare at heavyweight to see that.
What was your fight of the night on Wednesday? It seems the debate was Ferguson, Thompson, or what was actually given the extra $50K, that being the Matt Dwyer fight with Alan Jouban.
That was mine, man. I loved it. Matt Dwyer showed a lot of heart in there. Jouban's a skill guy. Jouban came on, really identified, okay, wait a second, a 9-9 round. damn it, if this guy sneaks one round out of me, that's a draw. And went for it. Matt Dwyer, lots of heart. He tried to use his reach well. Jobin's eyes started flaring up because he had to slip to get on the inside. I like that Alan Jobin, man. He's a modern pressure fighter and looking very good. That was a lot of fun. Great card. Really good night of fights.
Tony Ferguson, I think now everyone is kind of catching up to speed with it. This is certainly a lightweight that has a lot of promise. He looked tremendous against Josh Thompson. I thought he won every round. I think that second you could certainly debate was a 10-8 round. I mean, Tony Ferguson is just, he's improving fight after fight after fight.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be interesting because you heard Frank Mir talking about how, you know, guys don't empty their cup and say, I want to learn the art of judo, or I want to learn the art of boxing, or I want to go back and really put on a gi and get good at jiu-jitsu. And that whole well-rounded guys finding the ability to win in every position and get good, that's a perfect time to go back and specialize in jiu-jitsu. Go back and really examine boxing, and I will see. Ferguson is still learning. His cup is getting pretty full. So we're going to, it's also really tough, man. You start getting that top 10 in the 155-pound division. But he's one to watch for sure.
And one other fight I do want to touch upon is Holly Holm, her performance against Marion Renault. She looked so much more comfortable this time around than the Raquel Pennington fight. And I think there was someone online who I think summarized it best. If our evaluation of a women's bantamweight is ultimately, well, she can't hang with Ronda Rousey, there's going to be a lot of disappointment. Holly Holm is not ready for Ronda Rousey, and Holly Holm and her coach, Mike Winkeljohn, will tell you that. But I saw a lot of improvements. She had a game plan. It worked. And over the course of 3 rounds, she won each and every round despite one judge. I don't know how they scored a round for Marion Renault in there.
Yeah, bizarre. She's leveraging her boxing to make better kickboxing, and she's doing it really well. The threats of her boxing forces that distance, forces you to fight at distance, where her kicks are just as good as her boxing. She's truly been secretly a kickboxer all this time she was evolving as a boxer. She's classy. She's got a class to her style. And hey, man, it might be the best thing in the world to come along slowly, because in that pocket is a lifetime of striking, a lifetime of elite level competition, but nobody's going to rush her in against Ronda. And she might slowly find her way up there, and when she does, maybe she'll be ready, unlike most of the people that are facing Ronda.
I think slow and steady for Holly Holm. I mean, she is a long ways away, I think, from a title fight, but showing that improvement. For Robin Black, I'm John Pollock. Keep it locked on Fight News Now.